Thank you for watching this video with us. We're here for the Community Facilities Grant and Loan, and I am specifically talking about the financial documents that you will need as part of this process, what kind of financial information that you need to provide. Uh, I am Dr. Keith Gamble. I am a professor of finance at Middle Tennessee State University. I'm in the Department of Economics and Finance. I'm also a PhD in economics, and I teach both courses in economics and courses in finance here at MTSU. So first, I want to talk about the kinds of funding available. There are multiple types. The low interest direct loans. These truly are low interest loans, and this is still a historically low interest loan period that makes it attractive to seek loans at this time. I also can speak as an economist. Many economists look out ahead in the world and anticipate future interest rate movements. And what is commonly believed by economists now is that the future of interest rates will be higher than it currently is. So how is that relevant to you? I think it makes it even more valuable to be submitting for a low interest loan like is available through this program. It's an extremely attractive time to borrow, and most economists would predict that 2 to 3 years down the road, it's not going to be as favorable environment in order to borrow. Of course, you may have heard about inflation or seen the higher prices in the world, and that's the main force that economists think will result in higher interest rates in the future. So take advantage of the opportunity now. We talk about direct loans. Direct loans mean straight from the government to you, the entity receiving the loan. Direct loans don't have to go through a third party. There is the option of lending through a third-party lender, and I'll say more about that in a second. But I want to highlight the second kind of funding available here, and that's grants, because grants are really amazing opportunities when you're eligible for grant money. That is money that's paid to you to do your project. That the grant money portion you do not have to pay back. So as a parent of 2 children that are looking to head to colleges, this is one of the early lessons you learn as parents in school funding, is the difference between student loans and grants. And when your children have the opportunities to get grant money from college, that's amazing because you do not have to pay the grant money back. Giant difference between grants and low interest direct loans. Both are amazing opportunities to help fund your community facilities needs. There is the possibility of combining the two, and Dr. Livingston gave us some examples of organizations that had gotten both grant money and low interest direct loans to fund their projects. There is also the option of getting a loan guarantee. The loan guarantee program works with the lender. Those are not direct loans from the federal government to you, the entity. They work through the lender, and you can inquire with the lender about the possibility of a loan guarantee program. So this is about grant approval. That's the special kind of funding where you don't have to pay back the funds. There is the condition that the funds have to be available from the federal government. That was back to Dr. Livingston's point about the federal fiscal year is October to October. Probably a little safer to apply at the beginning of the fiscal year when there's almost certainly the funding available. This is a competitive program. If funds are no longer available, nothing else matters. funds must be available for a grant to be given. So get your application in as early as you can in the process. If funds aren't available, come back again. The future budget year where funds may become available, I think your work is not wasted, just delayed. There's also a provision for grant approval involving the population size of your community and the median household income. And it's a little bit technical and can be confusing. So I wanted to walk through that here. So it's a maximum of 75% grant funding level if you are in the smallest community size, so less than a population of 5,000, and then income that's less than the higher of two numbers, the higher of the poverty line or 60% of the state rural median household income. The good news about the word higher there is you only have to worry about the bigger number being below that bigger number. You don't have to be below both levels. I did get a recent state rural income level for Tennessee. Recently it was $43,780, which means for the 60% state rural level, that would be $26,268. And then as you get to higher levels of state rural median household income, each additional 10% there adds an additional $4,378 based on my recent numbers. So I think you as an applicant can figure out where you are based on population and median income in your community, and the higher up this chart you are, the better off you will be in that you will get a higher percentage. You'll be eligible for that higher percentage of grant approval, and again, that's the money that doesn't have to be paid back. So it's to your advantage to be at the higher level. I think the smallest communities with the biggest need, they're the ones that get the priority with the grant funding. So like Dr. Livingston said, the pre-application is where a lot of your work is going to be, and that's true for the financial documents as well as the other items. What I'll do in this presentation is walk through the different aspects of the pre-application that do have financial components, and I'm only focusing on the financial components. So we'll start with that standard form, which is what SF represents, the form 424. Talk about the budget and assurances, the cost breakdown that's needed to go along with your project narrative, the rejection letters from other lenders. Dr. Livingston mentioned that. I'll say a little more. Audited financial statements, and 5 years is what's needed. That's the ideal case. I'll also tell you what to do if you don't have 5 years of audited financial statements, what the other option is. The proposed budget for current fiscal year, financial items on the applicant feasibility report, and financial items on the survey of ensuring equal opportunity. So here on the standard form 424, I've pulled out item 18, which is estimated funding, and this is estimated funding by possible sources. This is just an estimate. They want to get an idea of what funding is available and from what possible sources. Item 20 is a financial item. It's the question, are you the entity delinquent on any federal debt? And if so, I can't imagine that's a good thing, but I like that they do give you the opportunity to attach an explanation. So if you happen to be delinquent on any federal debt, make sure you attach a good explanation so it's clear why you're seeking this funding given the delinquency. Now on budget and assurances, there's two different forms depending on the kind of project that you're proposing. So there's the standard form 424A, and this is for non-construction programs. Standard form 424C is for primarily construction programs, and then additionally you need a project budget in your project narrative. One note about non-construction programs, that just means primarily not a construction program. There's actually a line item under the form for non-construction programs. There's a line item for construction. If there's a minor amount of construction, that's okay. A minor amount of construction still goes under non-construction programs. But if construction is the primary need, then that goes under the form 424C. So I'll highlight the specific parts of those that have financial components. This is first for the non-construction programs. You need in section A budget summary. It needs to be done by the grant program function or activity. And then they're looking for the details of what is federal and what is non-federal in this information. So that's section A. It connects to the next section, section B, which is within those different grant program function or activity that you listed on the side on section A. Now we're going vertical within those to get a breakdown of the specific components in that grant program function or activity. They're looking for a breakdown of the various costs, personnel cost, fringe benefits, travel cost, equipment, supplies, and then item F, item G, construction, right after contractual. Construction is part of non-construction program. So I can imagine some people have a non-construction program, but they know they have some component of construction and they worry, do I have to use the full construction program form? The answer for you is here, no. You can have a minor amount of construction in your non-construction program form. That's item G on this list. Any other amounts, direct charges, total those, and then there can be indirect charges, so things that are needed that aren't like directly related to what the activity is, but are really important to make that activity work. Those are your indirect charges, and then the program totals there at the bottom, and then program income, if any, that goes along with your activity. So we're still in the form 424A, working through that form. We're now down to section C. These are non-federal resources that are available from the applicant, from the state. There's this next section, D, is looking at forecasted cash needs. So that's more about the timing of when the money is needed. They're looking for a breakdown of the total first year amount and into components of how much cash is needed by quarter for your overall proposal. Section E is budget estimates of federal funds needed for the balance of the project. We're looking at years, first, second, third, and fourth years. And then section F is any other budget information, direct charges, indirect charges, and any remarks to the other information that you've already provided. Okay, so what about if it's a primarily construction program? So primarily construction program, you don't go to form 424A. For a primary construction form, you go to 424C, which I love starts with C for a construction program. Sometimes on these numbers, they just kind of at random, or letters they're at random, but I love that construction is a C. That makes sense to me. All right, so for construction programs, there is some information that's now needed for a construction program that you don't have to provide on that other form. So a little bit more detail here. In the cost classification items, these are items that are inherent to construction projects. Things like architectural engineering fees we didn't see on the other form here. They are inspection fees, site work, demolition approval. These are all cost items that are commonly associated with major construction projects. So you're providing the cost for each of those items into your form. So there are some federal funding rules about how much of construction costs can be funded. So there's a calculation here at the bottom for looking at that federal requirement. So you also have to provide financial information within your project narrative, which is your text describing what your project is all about. It asks specifically for a cost breakdown of the project into these various areas. So like Dr. Livingston said, this program does ask for letters from lenders. So why do they do that? Just because if you can go to a lender and get a great loan and do the project, that's wonderful. And the federal government is not in the business of replacing private lending. When that's available, that's great. That's the natural place to go and get your project funded. That this program really is for the cases where the community can't get the private funding readily to do the project. So that's the reason that they ask for these letters. Like Dr. Livingston said, it doesn't have to be the full review and rejection process. They just need to know that you have discussed this with the other lenders and you cannot get better opportunities from a private lender. And if in the rare circumstances you do, by all means use the private lender. That's a wonderful thing. This is really a supplement for the other cases. And that's just the text that they provide to just give some guidance as what the letter can look like. So you do need audited financial statements from the past 5 years. The ideal circumstance is that you have these as an entity. They're prepared by a certified public accountant, a CPA. That is the ideal circumstance, which many entities regularly do this and save these documents. So for some of you, that may be a very easy process. If you don't have audited financial statements prepared by a CPA, there is the possibility of submitting your own prepared financial statements from the past 5 years. What they're looking for in that case is a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow. So if you're an entity that produces your own financial statements and you don't have the benefit of a CPA who prepares these for you, then make sure you can provide those three: profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and cash flows from each of those from the past 5 years. So you also need to show more information about your organization. So provide a proposed budget for the current fiscal year. And there are a few financial items on the applicant feasibility report. So in item 5, they're asking for cost estimates of these various types, potential income sources that you have, and then in 7, any other funds. And so some of this information you're also going to be putting in some of the other documents. Like Dr. Livingston mentioned, there is some redundancy and overlap in the forms. And then we're getting near the end here. Financial items on the survey of ensuring equal opportunity. This is a required form. What is the size of the applicant's annual budget? And check that box. This is information you have in those other forms. Select the one that fits your organization. And then, like Dr. Livingston mentioned, there are other resources to help you in addition to these videos. I think the primary one is the Rural Development Office and the people there. that are there to help you in this process. There is a guidebook online, that's the item on the right, and then there's our portal that we've created to help make this process easier for you to do online. And I hope you have enjoyed and benefited from this video.